All right, and welcome into another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. Currently going to try something new here. We've got a buddy of ours from the 12-ounce Sports Radio Network, Nate Wahl. If you haven't caught him, he does write a lot for the 12-ounce Sports Network radio site. Nate, what's up, brother?
Well, not much, just ready for the slate of games. That we've already, we've seen a couple, but, ready for Saturday. So, looking forward to see kind of where my picks land and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. You got a big slate of picks based on the articles I've read. You've been doing picks for a while, it looks like. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know that, you've been, big into college football. If you've listened, to our college football podcast, we don't talk nearly as much as you write. And I know that you're very in-depth with your previews, analysis, and I enjoy reading your articles, and I think everybody else would too.
Yeah, it's kind of something that I've kind of picked up over the last, I would say, 3-4 years. With sports gambling, kind of going off the charts as far as the demand. Just the interest of analytics with against the spreads, money lines, and the over under. The analytics with that is what really kind of interests me, especially in college football. I feel one of the more easy platforms to bet on. I think there's a lot of sports that, there's a lot more, props and, things that are more difficult to understand. But I think college football and, the NFL are two of the most easy, if you're a first-time bettor or whatever the case is, probably the easiest ones to bet on just based on, the simplicity part. I've been kind of college football has kind of always been something I've been passionate about. Writing also is something that, that kind of goes along with that, in order to, know the sport, you got to kind of write about it a little bit. I've kind of done some independent work on my own. Recently just started 12-ounce sports about a month and a half ago. But I'm really looking forward to, the future with 12-ounce and, getting the rest of the slate of college games going and, seeing where we end up, as far as our picks and whatnot. So that's kind of where I'm at, kind of what I do. I also, do a little bit with the NFL for 12-ounce sports, but the bulk of what I do is college football and, the picks, the money lines, the over-unders, and all that good stuff.
Right on. Yeah, definitely. Now that you've told everyone that betting college football and betting the NFL is the most simplistic version of sports gambling, you're now going to be held accountable for these picks going forward. You know that, right?
I do. On the record picks like we talked about, right?
Yeah. It's Big Wall's Big Picks of the Weeks. That's going to be kind of a reoccurring theme here on Vegas Squares. You can catch Big Wall's picks on our website. Starting first with this initial podcast. So let's dive right into the slate of NCAA football. And the first one I know that we talked about was Rutgers traveling to Kansas to face a Kansas team that is favored, I believe, for the first time in nearly a decade. Kind of something that jumps off the page here is both teams aren't very good. Kansas won for the first time in, I don't know the exact dates, but a very long time. And a buddy kind of told me, he asked me a question, and I didn't have the answer. And he said, when do you think the last time Kansas football and Kentucky football won on the same weekend? I didn't have the right answer for that one, because both programs are known for more of their hoops than their gridiron.
Yeah, as far as and the weird part is with Kansas, Kansas played Central Michigan, and the week before, Central Michigan was actually giving Kentucky quite a hard time, up till kind of towards the end, but they were, Kentucky was down, and then Kansas Central Michigan, the way they got destroyed against Kansas last week just kind of makes me think that, maybe Kansas could be, on the come up, but I think Rutgers, Kansas also lost to Nicholls State in Louisiana, which is a D1 AA school. To me, the way I look at it, I like the money line on that game just because, it is at Kansas, but I feel like if you kind of look at the Big 12 versus Big 10, even what I like to call, the teams that are kind of at the bottom, the armpit of both conferences, which is Kansas and Rutgers.
Right.
I still like Rutgers, just because, they got destroyed by Ohio State, but, Ohio State obviously is the top 4 team in college football. So I like Rutgers in this game, and I think Rutgers will, I know Rutgers was kind of struggling with their quarterback play and their running game, but I think they'll pick it up against Kansas and get a win that I think they really need. So the money line on it was actually plus 130, but I think it would be a very, very good pick to take as far as if you're just trying to make a little bit. It's not something I'd put $200, $300 on, but
right.
Put $25 to $50 on, and might be able to take a girl on a date or something like that. So
there you go. Buy her a nice bouquet of flowers. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
Kansas, based on your pick, Kansas's taste of success is going to be short-lived. So let's talk about USF traveling to Champaign to face Illinois. They are a 10-point current road favorite against the Fighting Illini, and you think that they're a strong team here in this matchup?
I think they are, just because Blake Barnett played in that Alabama system before he transferred to USF, and I think he was obviously any quarterback that comes out of Alabama, they know how to lead, they know how to get the job done, and I also think Charlie Strong, he knows how to get there. He did it at Louisville. He knows how to produce, top quality quarterbacks like he did with Bridgewater. So I'm a big fan of USF in this game. The money line's pretty high. It's 370. So it's one of those things that I think it's high, but and also on the spread, I think 10. Illinois has always been a program that's kind of struggled. Really, no one's heard of Illinois unless like Rashad Mendenhall used to play there way back when. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to think of dominant players from Illinois as of recently. One stat I did have is on the money line in the last 19 games that USF's played, they've been on the number 89.5% of the time. I thought that was a very, very interesting stat. Whenever you get numbers that are, above 85%, as far as, grades, as far as, getting the job done, I think, even though the Big Ten is obviously a little bit more dominant than the American, I think they're, definitely a top-of-the-line team in the American. So shouldn't be much of a problem for USF to win, even in Champaign.
Yeah, that's definitely a bold claim. A lot of double-digit spreads on the road are usually tough to cover, but USF's got a pretty rocking offense right now. They looked good against Georgia Tech last week, and they have there's no problem scoring down in Tampa there. I can tell you that. So let's look at one of the big boys, Oklahoma. They've run through opponents so far. They've had no trouble with Florida Atlantic. They had virtually no trouble with UCLA. Kyler Murray looks outstanding right now, but you think there's going to be a hiccup in this game. You got Iowa State plus 17.5 here hosting Oklahoma, who I believe last year, other than the playoff, gave Oklahoma their only loss of the season.
Yep, that's 100% right. And I think, too, Oklahoma lost their starter running back, Rodney Anderson, for the season. I think that's going to put a damper, in their offense. I know Kyler Murray's been outstanding. He's had some great games his last 2 games against Florida Atlantic and then UCLA. But I do think, losing Rodney Anderson for the season is going to kind of put a damper on him. And I think if this game was at Oklahoma, maybe it'd be a different story as far as, taking the spread or not. But I think 17.5 is a very high number for a team, Iowa State that, obviously Oklahoma, if they can beat Oklahoma with Baker Mayfield, I think, I don't want to say they can beat them, but spread-wise, they can. I think 17.5 is pretty generous, just based on what you saw last year. There's different pieces of the puzzle last year than there was this year, but being in this game is in Ames, I think it would be a little bit different. Maybe my pick would be different if it was in Oklahoma. But I mean, being that it is at Iowa State, I think I definitely think Iowa State can definitely do well. And in the last 12 games, Iowa State is just under 67% against the spread at home. So I mean that also is a good number. Anything I say over, anything 60 to 80%. You're usually going to have the upper hand on. So I'd like to see Iowa State be within 2 touchdowns. So that's kind of going to be my prediction. It's maybe a little bold, but I mean, let's go with it.
Yeah, you got the same quarterback coming back off injury that was able to beat OU last year, and yeah, the difference between Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray isn't terribly much. I would say Kyler Murray is more of a dual threat, whereas Baker Mayfield, while he was able to be dual threat, was more of a pocket presence. So than Kyler Murray. So I mean, yeah, deja vu a little bit with the 17.5-point spread. There's nothing wrong with jumping out on that, and hopefully they can get another home victory because everybody likes to slay giants. So let's go back into the Big Ten, and Minnesota is hosting Miami of Ohio. You're on the total on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think both teams like to score. Gophers, I mean, as far as the games that they've played, even though they've been against, maybe subpar opponents, and they beat Fresno State, they beat New Mexico State pretty handily. The one thing that stands out to me about Minnesota is, even though they're 2 games in, Minnesota, and you can argue about the opponents they've played or criticize the opponents they've played, but they already have 3 running backs in 2 games that have over 100 yards rushing. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but the fact that they can go 3 deep, in the running back category is a very, very dominant thing. And, I mean, I kind of made a joke in my article today that, they learned from their neighbors from the South, Wisconsin, about, the pound and run offense, and just, it's great to keep 1, 2, maybe, and even 3 deep at running back. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was an interesting stat that stood out to me. And as far as defense, I mean, as of right now, I mean, Gophers were 8th in the country as far as rushing yards and stopping the run. So I mean, I think that's a really significant stat this early in the season. I mean, but once again, you can argue the teams they play, but I mean, Fresno State, I mean, say what you want about them, they've produced quite a few NFL talents, and Devontae Adams, and Derek Carr, and his brother David Carr. But I mean, it's really one of those things to kind of see those numbers. I do like the over, and Miami of Ohio. I mean, they've played competitive football. They really haven't beat anybody, but I mean, obviously this is all about the points, and in this, I'm gonna take the over because I think it's gonna just be a offensive duel. I mean, there'll be defensive play, obviously, but the number that it's at, I think, is just a real easy number to hit, in my opinion.
Yeah, most definitely. Total sits at 46 right now. So yeah, it'd be basically a 3.
If each team gets 3.5 touchdowns, I mean, it puts you right there.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Yeah, we got the boys from Arkansas. I know the Talking Sports crew over at 12 Ounce is probably interested in your take on this one. Arkansas is hosting North Texas. They got a 7-point spread here. Arkansas is the home favorite. Your thoughts currently on the Hogs, bringing in North Texas to face, an offense that can put up some points, North Texas, but maybe not necessarily the class of an SEC opponent like Arkansas.
Yeah, and I think, Arkansas is obviously going through a hell of a rebuild. I mean, they kind of got stuck with Bielema, kind of leaving them in the, I don't want to say the trash, but like kind of leaving them down. But, they got a new coach in there, Chad Smith, who's, trying to rally the troops. Obviously, they're still struggling because they lost to Colorado State last week. But North Texas really, watching a little bit of their bowl game last year and watching their quarterback, Mason Fine, the 4,000-yard passer last year. You can argue about the conference he plays in and all that all you want, but I mean, the guy stands. There's a lot. You always hear the height thing with quarterbacks. Guy stands only 5'11". For a guy 5'11", I think he's only, I don't even know if it's 200 pounds. But the fact that he can sling the ball that well, just last season. I think Arkansas' defense better be on their toes with this guy at quarterback. I think he's an outstanding quarterback. I think, if you need him to run, he can do it. And I do think, as far as, the spread, last 7 games at home for Arkansas, a mediocre 22%. That's not a good number. You can say it's a different ball coach and all that, all you want, but at the same time, 22%, basically, the last 7 games, I think it's one out of 7 or something like that.
That's ice cold.
It's very, very not good at all. And then with North Texas as well, big points team. You can say they played, I think it was, I'm probably going to mispronounce it, Incarnate World, and then they played, I'm trying to play from this other opponent. But, they put up 52 points in the last 2 games, and to me, that's no joke. You can play they haven't played significant teams, but they like to score, and obviously with Mason Fine at quarterback, that they like to, the pass, and I feel like they run a similar offense to what we saw with FAU last year, just go. They'll put the yards on you, they'll put the points on you. I think Arkansas is going to have some trouble. That's why I had the spread and the money line on that. I think the Mean Green at +7. I think it's going to be inside 3 points. And then, I think North Texas does have an opportunity, if they can stay strong on defense, to possibly win this game as well. So that's kind of where I'm standing with the Mean Green and the Hogs. So.
Yeah, most definitely. And I believe North Texas wiped the floor with SMU in their first game. So, yeah, you're right. They're able to put up some points. No doubt about it. So, yeah, they have definitely a good shot at coming in there and beating an SEC team, which would be huge for their program. Even, it doesn't matter what the status of Arkansas's program is. The SEC, the chatter, no matter who it is, we talk about all the way from Kentucky to Arkansas, even if you're in the armpit, as you like to say, you're still in one of the premier conferences, and North Texas is not. So, to come in there and keep it close, or even perhaps walk away with a, plus 230 victory there would be big for North Texas's program. Let's talk about some more of the must-see TV or the bigger game action here. And there's some, even though the card's tough this week, and a lot of games have been canceled and or postponed, there are still some games that are of must-see TV, of noteworthy. And we'll start first with, in the SEC, Bama at Ole Miss. And Ole Miss has looked pretty good this year. Nice victory at Texas Tech to start the season. But you're just kind of not ready to fade Nick Saban at this point.
No, and that kind of goes back from experience. Games in the past. What I mentioned in my article is made the foolish mistake last year of taking Vandy +18 on the spread. It was in Nashville, so it was a home game for Vandy, and this was when Vandy was kind of coming up. Not obviously great yet, but they're raising. As far as that, Alabama beat them 59-0 in Nashville. So ever since then, I'm very conservative with Alabama. I need to really see something that sticks out to my mind. And now that I feel like Tua has won the quarterback battle there, I think it makes him even better than when they had Jalen Hurts. I think he's an outstanding thrower. It's very accurate. Got a very accurate ball, and it's been a long time since I've seen a lefty that has the arm strength that he does. As far as Ole Miss, the reason why I'm holding back on Ole Miss is I watched that first half of that Ole Miss Southern Illinois game, which is another D1 AA school. People forget, yes, they did just kill them in the second half, but Southern Illinois actually had the upper hand and was winning at halftime. So you got to be a little scared. Southern Illinois is a kind of middle level Missouri Valley, which is one of the more top divisions in D1AA, but they're kind of in the middle of the pack as far. I have a friend that used to actually play in Missouri Valley, and they're kind of a middle of the pack team according to him. But I mean, I think 21. I mean, the way Alabama's just been took Louisville to town. Louisville ran them off, and they just stuck it to them. And then Arkansas State, as the guys on the other What's Up Sports like to say, they call it Arkansas Light, basically. They stuck it to them as well. So I mean, this is a new Alabama team that likes to score, and I think, and obviously their defense is outstanding. Deontay Thompson is an outstanding secondary. And then, the fact that they have their quarterback situation figured out was kind of my deal breaker. With Tua, I think he's the real deal. And I think obviously Jalen has already entertained the possibility of transferring after this season. So, I have no doubt that Alabama's going to cover the spread in this game.
Yeah, definitely. Over the last decade, Bama has controlled this matchup 8-2 in their last 10 over the last decade. Ole Miss has gotten a couple of wins in there as a ranked opponent, but the last two. So with the 21-point spread, I mean, you look at the last two games in Oxford 2 years ago in 2016. Alabama squeaked out a 48-43 win, but last year back in Tuscaloosa, it was 66-3. Which way do you see this more leaning? I mean, I know a 21-point spread more leans towards a blowout, but could you see a competitive game in this, or do you just think that Alabama's just rolling on too many cylinders at this point?
I think it's going to be a game that's going to be competitive first half, and then Alabama's just going to kind of pull away. I think, the spread will be close. I think I'll be kind of grinding my teeth in the first half, but then Alabama will kind of start to pull away and, get outside of 21. I think it'll be, I would say they would probably win by at least 24. I could say conservatively that 24 I think would be significant enough for me. So I mean that's kind of where I see it. I think it'll be close, probably a 7 to 10 point game in the first half, but then Alabama will do what they do best and just kind of pull away from them.
Yeah, most definitely. It's tough to. Like you said, over the last, I'd say 5 or 6 years, no matter what the game is, it's tough to really fade Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide because, they're a tough out. They can turn it on when they want to. They can pump the brakes and run. Get the depth and their talent, in. It's just he's a tough one to crack, especially in the betting world. I'll tell you that, no doubt about it. Another interesting game that's going to be definitely a lot of eyes around the country is OSU. Ohio State heading into Fort Worth to face TCU without their leader Urban Meyer for the final game. This was the game that I'm sure on our podcast, and I'm sure on a lot of other people's shows, they talked about as the game that Ohio State's going to have the most trouble with, obviously of the 3 games that Urban Meyer will be out. But you are not touching points in this one in terms of the spread. You just think that it's going to be a high flying circus act.
Yes, and I think that, with the teams that Ohio State and TCU's played, and the reason why the 58.5 jumped out at me is when you put the two teams, average points for this season together, it adds up to about 113. Now, I know those are against not as elite opponents. I know TCU's a good team and Ohio State's a great team. But I think, Big 12 football, I mean, it's score. There's not a lot of defense. So I know that. I mean, every Big 12 game I've ever watched in the last 2 or 3 years, it's like 56-49 or, Ohio State obviously plays a different kind of game, but I mean, even you look at Ohio State, I mean, Oregon State, I don't think, obviously they're kind of becoming the armpit of the Pac-12. However, I mean, defensively, Ohio State still allowed 38 or 31, even though they put up 77. So I think Ohio State's defense and TCU's defense are going to do a lot of the same. It's just going to be like, all right, Haskins throws a touchdown, TCU runs or throws for a touchdown. I think it's just going to be a lot of back and forth, and I see the 58.5 being a real low number, despite how offensively sound both these teams are. And to see Dwayne Haskins, in his kind of his first year as a leader at quarterback, see him just kind of go out there and sling it, do what he needs to do best. Definitely think he'll be a better talent than JT Barrett was. So I mean, I'm taking the over on this 58.5, and I think it'll be a good game. Otherwise, I mean, I think it'll be within 7, but it'll be a threat. So we'll just have to see. They are playing at a neutral site at the AT&T Stadium, so that may have a little bit to do with it. Ohio State may get a little pump from, I'm guessing, Zeke Elliott. I'm sure he'll be Ohio State homer, cheering them on. But I think Ohio State will have the upper hand, but it'll be close.
Yeah, definitely one to look out for. That's going to be an exciting game, and I would say probably the game of the week as far as the slate of games that I looked at here. So definitely all eyes on this one, as Ohio State's been in the news for the last 2-3 months. Obviously, we don't need to go down the road of what everybody knows with the Urban Meyer situation. So the total, yeah, that's going to hopefully, like you said, it's going to have some high flying action and a lot of points scored. Hopefully, a close game. We'll get our money's worth in that one. So. Another, classic battle. This is the third installment at this point over the course of, almost 14 years at this point. If you have followed college football, lucky enough to follow college football that long, you probably witnessed one of the greatest national championship games I know personally I've ever seen, and that was USC versus Texas. They followed that up last year with a Sam Darnold win for USC with another exciting classic game, which maybe shouldn't have been given the state of Texas's program, but whatever Texas and USC are at any time, the 2 times that they've matched up at this point have been definitely exciting finishes, and I think we're in for another one here in Austin. Your thoughts on this game, the trilogy, and the kind of the rubber match, if you will?
Yeah, so as far as, what I see in this game, I see, obviously, Texas had Sam Ellinger. He was there last year. He played, he threw the game, I believe it was game-losing pick to lose the game last year. So that game's in his head 100%. But at the same time, USC is only allowing about 140 yards a game this season on defense. So it's ranked 18th in the country. Sam Ellinger's not a big pass thrower. He's definitely a dual threat guy. Doesn't have really the physique to be a dual threat, but he is a dual threat quarterback. Last year, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That touchdown to interception ratio is kind of what's standing out with me is, that ratio is so close that, if you're considered a dual threat, also another stat I found is only had 261 rushing yards last year, and his yards per carry was 3.1. There's a lot of, I feel pocket passers that can, contribute more than 3 yards per carry, especially when you are a dual threat kind of guy. I also don't like how the start of the season Texas could not beat Maryland. I think Maryland, kind of like Ohio State, has all the drama in the off season with what happened. The fact that they still couldn't pull it out, and last week they played Tulsa and only beat them by a touchdown. So to me that's startling. USC, yes, they did get beat by Stanford, but Stanford is much better than the competition that Texas played this year. They did. I think as long as their quarterback can show up and kind of do his thing as far as he's averaging about 250 yards a game passing, which is I think pretty standard. It's not going to win you every game, but it's going to win you a bulk of games. So I like USC in this game. I think they do what they did again last year and win this game. And even though it is at Texas, I think Tom Herman, if he can't win this game, I think he needs to kind of, line up all his cards and figure out, what can I do to, because I think he kind of went in there as kind of, the man that was going to save Texas football, and so far, he he hasn't done that. So he's going to have to find a plan to fix that.
Yeah, no doubt. He's, I mean, in fairness to Herman, he's still working with, Strong's recruits. It usually takes a couple of years. The only question is with the legacy of Texas, does he have a couple of years? That's always the $1 million question in Texas. Who's the next guy to save it? Well, give him some time, and time's not something that Texas donors are willing to donate. They're definitely willing to throw money, but not the time. So, Nate, yeah, definitely. It's going to be a good slate of college football games this weekend. Got a lot of picks on the board. Hopefully they come through, and all of us who tail can definitely take our girlfriends out, buy them some flowers and maybe take them out to a nice dinner. And we can have Nate to thank here. Nate, tell all of everybody listening where we can find you on social media.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter. It's the Brick Wall, WAHL 87. You can also find me on Facebook, facebook.com/nwall23. And you can also find me on Instagram. It's nwall23. So I also have kind of a independent page that I'm running myself called Destroy the Process, where, this is kind of where I got my love of, picking games and whatnot. You can see some of my picks from the Action Network on that Twitter page. So definitely check that out. I go outside the box. I think for this game, this week's slate of games, I think I had over 24, 25 picks for this week alone. So, if you obviously see the 10 that I posted tonight, but there's more to look at. So if anyone wants to kind of look at that, feel free to go to my Destroy the Process page. It's DT Process, the number 1, on Twitter, and yeah, that's kind of where you can find me.
It sounds like you're all over the social media platform, especially in the college football realm. Nate, definitely looking forward to doing this on the regular. We appreciate you coming aboard. And guys, if you're listening every week, we're gonna try to have Nate on, have his picks on, and if you happen to not be able to catch the podcast, he's definitely on 12 Ounce Sports Radio. He's pretty active in the article realm there as well. Nate, I'm looking forward to doing this pretty regularly, my friend.
All right. We'll look forward to it. We'll talk to you next week, all right?
All right, guys. That was Nate Wahl. Again, Big Wahl's picks. We're going to have those every week up on the website. You can catch those on the front page. So this has been another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. We will catch you on the next one.